Okay, Dodge is running in the yard, loaded up, ready to go. Today I have never tested various ammunition through my old 22 mag. It's a Marlin. I got it from my dad, used to be my grandpa's. I've always just thrown ammo in it and shot it at stuff. It seems to work, but we're gonna shoot a group with some CCI VMAX loads here, some 40 grain hollow point Remington here, some very old CCI hollow point ammunition here, a Remington VMAX sort of clone load. It's a ballistic tipped Remington offering, and then Hornady VMAX here. Here we're gonna shoot my old, it's a Czech military training surplus rifle with some Remington Thunderbolt open sights at 50 yards, and same open sights Remington Thunderbolt 50 yards. Then I'll do a little pistol shooting and just shooting at steel, and we'll come back to the bench here and see what it do. Okay, so we're gonna start here the old 22 mag, and we're gonna start with what I had loaded in the magazine to ride around in my pickup. So it looks like Hornady VMAX is the ticket. So we'll shoot a group with that and see how good it was, what I just had in it. Sometimes I don't have the shakes well enough to shoot good groups, so here, buy a pop, usually Pepsi or Dr. Pepper, gets me caffeinated, and then my hands start shaking, see, and then I shoot better groups. All right. So I ended up shooting one group with Winchester. I had a loaded magazine in the 22 that was some Winchester hollow point stuff, just plain old bulk. And then I shot a 10-shot group with the Remington Thunderbolt at this bottom target. And it looks like 50 yards with open sights. That's pretty good. But the wind's actually blowing this way, so I'm gonna have to chase that a little bit with my front sight post. I think a tiny little bend that way will probably get me right on target. And the same with this ammo. I had that. I was really struggling to get on target here. I had my glasses on and I was having kind of a weird eye focus issue. So here I popped my glasses off and kept both eyes open because my left eye is so fuzzy. It really helped me stay focused because this bullseye is just a little too small for 50 yards with open sights. It was an experiment, I don't really know. But it's pretty consistent to the left, so I'm gonna move that sight post. And then for the 22 mag, it's looking like Hornady, and then I made a scope adjustment. I switched these, so I've got Remington, CCI, old, and hollow point Remington. So I just switched this one and this one. So this is actually the modern CCI, and it does mark low, and it did. This is actually 4 shots, 1 hole, and then 1 shot that hole. So it's slower, noticeably. This old CCI and the new CCI are noticeably like lower pressure, lower velocity. But that group looked pretty good. That flyer wasn't me, but I mean, it's looking like a little under an inch maybe. I'll measure them, but I mean, in general, what I'd like is a 1/2 inch at 50 yards, because that would obviously equate to an inch at 100, which would be a minute, but that I'm really happy with. So let's, my battery got too hot. My phone got too hot earlier, and so my phone shut down part way through the filming. So anyway, let's move it on up to the pistol range. Okay, so up at the 25-yard range. It's kind of busy today. There's quite a few people shooting. It's new member orientation here today, so I'm gonna just voice over this section. I got a couple magazines of 45 ACP for my range gun. I've got a camber carry gun that I try to not shoot too much because it's just an aluminum frame, so I bought a couple of iron 1911 Commanders. One's a 45, and then this one here is a 9mm. They're both made by TSIS. They're just cheap steel 1911 combat Commanders, and they seem to shoot.
If I'm shooting left, you're shooting. I want to move the dot to the right. Make it go that way. All right, let's see if mine got any better here. Yeah, I just read. I gotta move it the opposite.
I'll shoot this little 9. I've really kind of come to like this thing just because the recoil is so mild, and it's pretty accurate. Not with this. This is Ammo Inc. ammo, and I've been pretty displeased with its accuracy, and pressure signs in various loadings, cartridges, but anyway, it's what we've got.
Let's see what this does now. I'll go back to step one and
those are pretty small plates for 25 yards for me, but do pretty good. The faster I go, the less I hit them. The slower I go, I can hit them damn near every shot, but practice. So these are made by Tesis. They're a Turkish company. Makes these clone 1911 Combat Commanders. They're A1 models, and the 9mm is Sadie's. I bought it for her for Christmas, and you know, the 45 one I just bought so I don't wear out my aluminum frame Kimber.
it's probably pretty close. Okay. I want to go down.
So obviously the $1,000 gun's a little more accurate, even though it's got a 1/4 inch shorter of a barrel, but I try not to shoot it too much because this whole frame's aluminum and it is my carry gun. But for a 45, it's damn accurate. I can pop plates at 50 all day with it. One more round with the little 9.
Lower it down a little, so I want that.
I'm gonna hurry on home now, because if you knew what I had waiting for me when I get there, you'd want to hurry too. Killed a bird in my crummy the other day. I kind of don't want to touch it to get it out. My garden's dying, at least some of it. I think I've been overwatering my tomatoes. So everything looks better kind of now that we've quit watering every day. I'll learn. Okay, so it turns out all of my footage from downrange self-deleted. So probably because my phone, it was sitting right in the sun, it overheated, and it just, everything that it was trying to record at the time, it just canned it. So Sadie and I are going to invest in some better recording equipment, at least a couple of GoPros to start. If I can find ones that don't have that goofy fisheye lens. I can't stand that stuff. But anyway, we can go over this and still get a pretty good idea. So this is my first group with Hornady, and it was pretty consistent. Like it's not like I had this group and then one flyer. It just kind of all was bouncing around. But it's also pretty typical for me for my first group, you know, range rust, just to knock the rust off. But I've been shooting pretty regular, like probably, I don't know, over 100 rounds a month off of a bench with a rifle. So I'm pretty squared away. you know, I shoot groups, you know, pretty regularly with other rifles that are, you know, under an inch at 100. That one's half an inch at 100. So, you know, I don't just jump right out there and say it might have been me if I don't think it was me, because none of these it wasn't. It's rimfire ammo, you know. But that's pretty good. I'll measure them and come back to you, but I just want to get a first look before I start looking at numbers, because, you know, this might pencil out. I've had groups that just look horrific and they pencil out to like the second best group of the day, and that doesn't take away that I think at first glance a guy should look at his groups and just take a look. At first glance, this absolutely looks the best. This absolutely looks the second best, third best, fourth best, fifth best. Insider information is I know that this 3 shots in a 1-holer, 1 shot there, and then 5th shot there. So that stuff looks good, but it's got that inconsistency. I don't know if that's, you know, the rim priming charge or the powder charge or whatever. Something about it ain't right. So maybe to have to go up to 10 or 20 round groups and just see what it does. But I mean, no doubt both of the Remingtons were absolutely on point. So I think that that looks pretty good. So this is the rifle, and it's just a tube fed old Marlin bolt gun. This scope says 12 power, and I had it on 12, but it sure as heck doesn't feel like 12 power. You know, I've got a Vortex Viper on one of my ARs that goes to 15, and I bet you if I put them both on 12, this does not magnify 12 times actually. Still not a bad scope. It does what it's supposed to do for, you know, for this rifle. That's absolutely it. Okay, so here, these bullseyes, I built this a while back, and it's just for tracing bullseyes on paper or cardboard or whatever, and it's a 3/4 inch from point to point diamond. And when I'm trying to do precision stuff like load development and load testing, I really like to have a really small target to shoot at. Like sometimes I would just place a piece of my blue range tape, like masking tape, on there and just aim at the corner of the tape. But it gets tough because my crosshairs are fat enough that they kind of cover up the corner, and there's some guesswork in there, where dead center in this little diamond is pretty good. However, that's a little too small for my eyeballs as old as I'm getting with iron sights. So, you know, I had, this was my, I don't know, 5th shot, 6th shot, or excuse me, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or 1st. But I don't know if that's because I couldn't see or if that's the ammunition. This was some Winchester. So this is not Remington Thunderbolt. This is some Winchester hollow point, you know, just a bulk brick that I bought, and it was in the gun. And no doubt I made a change here though. I took my glasses off, kept both eyes open, and really focused on keeping my front sight post level with the center of this diamond. And it, with the 50-yard rear sight flipped up, it seems to be pretty dead on for range. Windage, I'll have to make an adjustment. And it's good to know, because I've been shooting that rifle for years and I've never punched paper with it to see where it sits. It's just a iron-sighted 22 is an iron-sighted 22, right? So, you know, I've been shooting it the same all these years. So we're gonna get some measurements made and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is somewhat interesting here. We got the Remington VMAX style bullet is right at a minute, which is more than acceptable. The Remington hollow points, 1.6 minutes. I more than live with that out of a rimfire. The old CCI, that's, you know, 3/4 of an inch at 50. That's what, 1 1/4, maybe 1 1/2 actually. I think my math is not particularly kosher there. So we'll go 1.5, make a change. 1.5 minutes. That's acceptable out of an old rimfire. This one's where it gets interesting because it's 1.165 inches or 2.1 MOA. But the best for, that's a tear right there, so I laid that flat. And the best for is actually comes into 0.425 inches or 0.8 minutes of angle. However, both of these loads were a little weak sauce. Like, they didn't have the same amount of crack to them as the Remington or the Hornady did. Like, they're kind of downloaded light. And so even if this did shoot 0.425 on the regular, I probably wouldn't use that for my regular hunting ammunition because it feels like there's a little more to be had from the cartridge for sure. So probably this Remington VMAX. You know, these are 30 grain, these are 40 grain offerings. So, you know, there's definitely and the 40 grain, it marks the same range at 50 as the 30 grain. I mean, minus maybe a tiny bit, but that's pretty darn acceptable. So I know what I'm going to be buying from now on. As for the little 22, we're right at 3 minutes of angle with irons at 50 yards. And for a guy with bad eyes, I'd say that's absolutely more than acceptable. You know, that's a 10-shot group, and I literally can't complain about that one bit with that little rifle. It's so cheap to shoot. I mean, if I scoped it, I bet the rifle shoots better. I'm just probably never going to scope that rifle, and I'm more than impressed with that.